Good morning, everyone, and welcome to ArtsQuest for Mayor J. William Reynolds' State of the City Address. Let's hear it for the Freedom High School Band. I hope you're all awake. It's such an honor for the Bethlehem Chamber to assist in hosting this message for the city and for the mayor. So thank you to the City of Bethlehem for your continued and unending support. As we begin today, I'd like to point out the QR codes on the screen behind me and at your tables. The Bethlehem Chamber is taking steps to align ourselves with our city's sustainability efforts. We have offered this QR code that will take you to today's digital program. Be sure to scan the code to learn more about today's event, the Bethlehem Chamber's upcoming events, and for information about our amazing sponsors. And speaking of sponsors, on behalf of the Bethlehem Chamber and City of Bethlehem, we are thankful for all of you here today for your incredible support to our city. To help me thanking our sponsors, please join me in welcoming to the stage Senior Vice President of Member Relations and Sales for the Chamber, Gina Martin.
Well, good morning, Tammy. Thank you so much. What a crowd this morning. Please help us recognize and thank our incredible members and sponsors this morning.
That's right, Gina. We love audience support during this portion of our program, so let's hear it. First, thank you to our presenting sponsor, Astound Business Solutions. Bill and your team, thank you for your unending support. And a huge thank you to our corporate sponsor and strategic business partner of the Chamber, Capital Blue Cross. Thank you to your entire team.
All right, our platinum sponsors this morning, we have Alloy 5 Architecture. I see Becca, Mike, and their team. Thank you so much. Platinum sponsor, Highmark Blue Shield and Lehigh Valley Health Network. They're right here. Let's hear it for them. Thank you. And LehighValleyNews.com. I see Ellen and team right there. Thanks so much.
And our gold sponsors, Alvin H. Foote, BSI Corporate Benefits, yeah, let's hear it. Dewey Engineering, the Downtown Bethlehem Association, King Spry Law Firm, Lehigh University, Moravian University, Benoni, Westside Hammer Electric, Wind Creek, and Working Dog Press.
All right, and what would be breakfast without this next sponsor? Can you smell the bacon?
I can, Gina. Bacon, it's on your table.
Incredible. Thanks to our bacon sponsor, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, and congratulations to them on opening night this week.
Yes, and next, if I can have everyone take a look at this gorgeous stage filled with this incredible art toward. Thank you to our friends from Bethlehem House Gallery for providing our decor today on the stage. Thank you, Lord and Rachel.
All right, let's thank our silver sponsors, B. Braun Medical Incorporated, the Bethlehem Parking Authority, Boyle Construction, Lanta, and St. Luke's University Health Network. Thank you. Let's hear it.
And we have more. Let's keep it going as we thank our supporting sponsors, Gilmore and Associates, Historic Hotel Bethlehem, Just Born Quality Confections, Lehigh Valley with Love, George's up there, everyone, MKSD Architects, Monocacy Builders, Northampton Community College, PPL, Service Electric, and YMI Insurance. And before my final thank you, a quick shout out to the Bethlehem Area School District children who provided the centerpieces on today's tables. Finally, thank you to ArtsQuest. Cassie, to you and your team, thank you so much for your support as we deliver today's State of the City presentation. So thank you all so much.
Thank you again. Have a great night. Enjoy the show. Please welcome a man celebrating his 25th anniversary this year. He is recognized for his regional efforts, hosts a popular television show, Business Matters, as a weekly guest radio appearance on iHeartRadio, and a columnist for The Morning Call. Please put your hands together for the President and CEO of the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Tony Iannelli.
Woo. Wow. Thank you for that intro. By the way, Brittany Keel, our booming voice. Thank you, Brittany. She's on Business Matters with me. You're amazing, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. You're more amazing.
I know. Thank you. Anyway, but I have so many introductions to do, but I do want to say, this just blows me away. Tammy and the group, unbelievable what you have going here today. And I just look around, I see all these community leaders, and I'm just so thankful that we as a chamber and we as a community can be part of all this. So let me get through these intros. I'm just going to go to John Brenner first from the Pennsylvania Municipal League. He's the executive director, and they're having their event here, right, Mayor? They're having an event. Thank you so much, John, for being here. Appreciate it. I have such a love for mayors. I just think it's incredible the work they do, not only from a political standpoint, but operationally, and how these cities work, the amount of people, and how things can get interesting from time to time. But we have 3 amazing mayors. And, you know, I've always known that mayors have been close to the region, but these 3 are like family now. And I think that's a great advantage for us. So I'm going to start in a little bit different, because I'm going to start with the guy that started it all. And that is the mayor of Easton. First and foremost, $1 billion worth of development. An amazing guy, my friend Sal Panto. Thank you, Salvatore Panto. Talk about $1 billion in development, Allentown, beautiful PPL center. You know, I walk the Lehigh Parkway and I look at my watch, I think, man, I'm doing under 14 minutes. And so all of a sudden the mayor, Matt Turk, runs by me at probably like a 5-minute clip. But that's how he runs the city. He's tenacious, he's intense, and I'm thankful that you're on Mayor Matt Turk. Thank you so much. Another person that I think, and you're going to hear a lot, it's all about him today, but I have to say, Mayor Willie Reynolds, unbelievable what you're doing. I think your political future is out of sight, and I'm so thankful that, you know, most people in a city this size think, well, I wish we had a healthy downtown. He's got 2 going, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Mayor. Love what you're doing. I always kid him because I say, you know, he looks great, he's in great shape, he's a great speaker. And then I found out I meet his wife, who's even nicer than him, and she's a physician. Other than that, he's got nothing going for him. Anyway, unbelievable life. Good job. All right, Lehigh County Commissioner Zach Borzi is here. Thank you so much, Zach, for being here. Northampton County DA Terry Houck. Thank you, Terry, for being here today. We did the mayors. Let's talk about Bethlehem City Council. Michael Colon. Thank you, Michael. Grace Cramsey Smith. Gwendolyn Enix. Hillary Quiatek. Rachel Leone, Dr. Paige Van Wert, and Kiera Wilhelm. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. I appreciate that. You know, we said we want to do the school board. We got a lot of stuff going on, but I said, let's do it because it's good work, and I'm thankful for these people. It's so dedicated. So Bethlehem School Board, Winston Alonzi, Dr. Dean Donaher, Shannon Patrick, Dr. Karen Beck-Poley, Michael Rashuni, and Dr. Sheila White. Thank you so much for all you're doing. And while I'm on school board, I just want to say, Dr. Roy, thank you for your service, what you've done. You're so committed. We thank you for that. Enjoy your time. Good guy. If you need someone to hang around with, give me a call sometime. And then Dr. Silva, congratulations to you, and we support your great efforts going forward. Thank you so much for being here. I want to say, before I close out, I want to say two things. Oh, by the way, Chamber Exec, Michael Butz, Jonathan Huerta, and Lori Gosey-Hackett, thank you all for being here. And I lastly want to say that when I first came to the Chamber, first of all, in the first 6 months, I thought, when are they going to fire me? Of course, I thought that last night too, because that's my personality. But they asked me, you know, things are really going well. What do you want to do? And I said, I want to be dedicated to downtowns. I want to be on every main street. I want to do community development work and support our mayors. Not economic development, because LPDC does an amazing job with that, but more celebrating cities, doing activities. And I'm so thankful that we've been able to do that. And we say on every main street, and we do have an office on every main street. But we could have never done this work. I'm going to introduce and thank Tammy and the gang, but I do want to thank Angela DeGrasso. Angela was with the Chamber beforehand. Now she's with the city, living a very sane life. And then lastly, I do want to thank Tammy and that whole gang, Ty and Brittany. You guys are amazing. Thank you for what you do. We appreciate that so much. And lastly, we're going to see a video from someone I think has spent more time in this valley, in some presence one way or another, than any governor before him. So we have a great, great video from Governor Shapiro. Thank you all for being here, and I'm done.
Good morning, Bethlehem. And thank you to my good friend, Mayor Willie Reynolds, for inviting me to welcome folks to your State of the City address. I'm grateful that across this Commonwealth, and especially right here in the Lehigh Valley, we have so many fine leaders like Mayor Reynolds serving their communities each and every day. And thanks to his leadership, that Bethlehem and the entire Lehigh Valley is on the rise. Bethlehem has long been an economic leader in Pennsylvania. Your city has a rich tradition in manufacturing and economic growth, from the Bethlehem steel plant that helped build our bridges and skyscrapers to the ideal semiconductor lab that is producing the chips that will power the technology of tomorrow. That is your legacy and your future, and once again, Bethlehem is leading the way. Mayor Reynolds has been able to do that by welcoming folks to the community, growing the economy, and making sure government works for everyone. His responsive nature has truly paid off. He's focused on delivering common sense solutions to the problems that Pennsylvanians face, fighting for better schools, healthier families, and safer communities. That's what my administration is fighting for too. And I'm proud that we have partners like Mayor Willie Reynolds in this fight with us. Our city and local governments are where the rubber meets the road, working directly with the people in their communities to provide essential services. I want you to know that my administration stands with you, Willie, stands with all of you in Bethlehem in this mission to serve the good people of Pennsylvania. I believe that government can be a positive, productive force for good in Pennsylvanians' lives. And we can come to the table to work in partnership for prosperity and for all of our people. I look forward to doing that work with the city of Bethlehem under Mayor Willie Reynolds' leadership. Thank you for inviting me this morning, and I wish you the very best.
Please welcome Enterprise Sales Manager from Astound by RCN, Mr. Phil Donatelli.
Good morning, and thank you for coming. It's an honor to be here with you today on behalf of my colleagues at Astound Business Solutions, part of Astound Broadband, an award-winning national telecommunications company that also has a strong local presence in the Bethlehem area. Nationwide, we provide more than 75,000 business customers with the connection speeds, bandwidth, and reliability they need to support growing data demands. Astound Business Solutions is proud to maintain a local customer-focused approach here and throughout our network, with dedicated industry experts on hand and available around the clock to help businesses stay on top of today's evolving IT technology needs. It's been a little over a year since our Bethlehem mayor walked into work with vigor and vision for a new Bethlehem. With much enthusiasm, his administration put forth unceasing efforts to motivate inclusivity, promote revitalization, advance economic development, and influence partnership through collaboration. He has had great success with new and improved citywide initiatives. We have all been inspired by the administration's great work over the last year, and I know we're eager to hear what's in store for 2023. Guests, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the mayor of the city of Bethlehem, Mayor J. William Reynolds.
Good morning, it is wonderful to be here. I think that joy, that energy, the optimism you feel in this room, that could only happen in Bethlehem. And I got to give it up for a lot of people that made this happen. But how about that Freedom Band? I want to give them a round of applause. I walked in this morning and Mr. Moran, their band director, he looks at the Freedom Kids and he says, you know, this is the mayor of Bethlehem. And they were like, oh, that's awesome. And then he said, he's the guy that made you have to get up at 6 a.m. And I was just like, bro, what are you doing? But our city is remarkable because of the people that call our city home. And you know, the collection of families, schools, institutions that come together to achieve what we think of as those ideas of Bethlehem. Everybody deserves a thank you for that. And the backbone of who we are, the backbone of our identity, is the idea that it's not just about us, that we don't define success by only what happens in our lives or in our families' lives, but what happens in others' lives as well. And our job in City Hall, in our community, is create that idea of shared success. And by our job, I mean it's all of our job. It's the 76,000 people that call Bethlehem home. Because success in Bethlehem is not just something that happens in City Hall, but it's that crossing guard that helps the kids get to Spring Garden and Dunnigan and William Penn, all of our elementary schools. Success is that mom that says, if I don't run that school fundraiser, no one's going to do it. And success is that dad that agrees to carpool the kids in the neighborhood for the team because he knows that's the only way that they know that they're going to be able to get to practice. And that motivation is not about self-interest, and it's not about whether or not their kid is going to be successful or not. It's about the public interest. And what we have here today is we have a bunch of people that are going to come across this stage that are dedicated to that idea of creating something for people other than themselves. And we really do believe that we have the biggest state of the city that you will ever see today. This is definitely the biggest crowd we ever had. We're up over 330 people, which is probably about 50 or 60 more people than we had last year. And sometimes some stories on this stage, out there on Levitt and throughout Music Fest, some stories they can be, it's just the guy with the guitar. And he can sing the song and carry the tune by himself. But sometimes you need the full band. So today we decided to bring the full band in. And we have city employees, city council members, community leaders, even a few mayors that are going to come up and share all of the things that we are working on in the city of Bethlehem and throughout the Lehigh Valley. And what's going to emerge throughout this morning is going to be a vision for the city that we want. But vision is not the only word we want to use, because vision is a word that is about the future. You hear people in politics use that word vision all the time. We want something else to emerge today. We want, the word I use is code. How do we make decisions? How do we say yes or no? How do we set our priorities? I guess you could say, what is that sound of Bethlehem? And that sound is somewhat unique to Bethlehem because of the people that are in this room. And we never try to take more credit than we deserve, because what the story of Bethlehem is how do we create that shared success? And when we were sworn into office last January, we talked a lot about how we weren't alone. We're bringing dynamic new leaders into City Hall, but there are dynamic new leaders that are running our school district. There are dynamic new leaders that are running our nonprofits. And we have dynamic young people throughout our community that are excited for their opportunity at the next era of Bethlehem. And as these different community leaders are going to come across the stage today, they're going to tell a lot of different stories. You're going to hear a lot of success that's going on in the city of Bethlehem. But there's going to be one common characteristic that pulls all of it together. And that's that it's not truly success unless everybody gets to share in that success. It's a Bethlehem idea, it's an American idea. We're excited to share the progress we have made in many areas. You're going to hear about all of the things that we are doing in City Hall with technology to increase how efficiently we are delivering our city services. You're going to hear about the incredible levels of investment that are coming into the city of Bethlehem. You're going to hear about how we're not satisfied with just creating opportunities, we want to create outcomes. You're going to hear about how in our neighborhoods we have new neighborhood initiatives that are driving momentum and creating excitement in places where it didn't exist before. And of course, you are going to hear about how we are not just including, but we are celebrating the idea that Bethlehem can be a place for everybody. So I want to thank everybody for coming for what is going to be, as I said, the biggest State of the City you're ever going to see. And to kick us off on our first set of stories, I'd like to welcome our first set of speakers, Angela Stein, the Director of Mayor's Initiatives, Michael Colon, the President of City Council, and Kristen Wenrick, our Health Director, to kick us off.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Angie Stein, Director of Mayor's Initiatives for the City of Bethlehem, and I'm so excited to be with you all today for our second State of the City address. Delivering basic city services is always at the forefront of what City Hall does. We have professional employees who continue to provide high-quality, cost-efficient services that you rely on. Today, we are going to share just a few successful stories of how the City of Bethlehem is modernizing the way we deliver those services while providing a clean, safe, and healthy city. Over the past few years, the city has invested in new paving equipment to increase long-term quality and efficiency. We'll be able to double in-house paving output by outsourcing certain components of operations, such as hauling of material, which will allow us to deploy 2 crews at a time. We invested in equipment upgrades to prolong the life expectancy of our pavements. We upgraded our sealing operation with new machines that are safer and more efficient, making our roads last longer by filling cracks. We now have 2 pothole patch trucks that are operated by one employee rather than 2, which has increased pothole repair 5-folds while providing more efficient repairs and better quality work. The pothole repair trucks are heavily used, and the availability of having 2 of them also prevents downtime caused by repeated maintenance and repair needs. With these upgrades, we'll be able to have our roads last longer and look better while saving employee time so they can focus on other areas of our city. Thank you to our Director of Public Works, Mike Alcall, for all of his work, which this story is just one reflection. The city's water department maintains 37,000 customer water meters. These water meters need to be replaced every 20 or so years, and right now we have about 25,000 meters that have reached this lifespan. Our plan is to replace 4,000 meters per year for the next 6 years. This replacement will include equipment to convert to automatic meter reading technology, allowing for real-time tracking of water consumption for each customer instead of just one read per quarter. This new technology generates alarms for excessive usage or failed meter. By investing in new technology, we will be able to save employee time who used to manually check these meters and help our water customers save money by adjusting their consumption in response to real-time readings. Thank you to our Director of Water and Sewer Resources, Ed Boscola, for his work on this and for being here today. And now to tell more of these stories, City Council President Michael Colon.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about using data effectively in our community this morning, specifically within our police department. Our police department recently implemented the National Incident-Based Reporting System, or abbreviated NIBRS. NIBRS provides greater specificity in reporting criminal offenses. The prior system collected data under a hierarchy rule that when officers reported, only the most serious offense in that incident was captured. With NIBRS, there is no hierarchy rule, which allows for multiple offenses to be documented per incident. This increases specificity in reporting, and this also helps our Bethlehem Police Department in their efforts. It helps recognize trends and patterns of crimes in a timely manner. It identifies areas of improvement and develops more targeted training for police officers. And it also improves transparency. The FBI has made nationwide implementation of NIBRS a top priority because this system can provide more useful statistics to promote constructive discussions, to help measure planning, and help inform policing in the community. Although many law enforcement agencies have struggled with the transition and implementation, our move has been seamless thanks to the leadership in the police department. BPD was one of the first large law enforcement agencies here in the Commonwealth to be NIBRS compliant. So I just want to say thank you to our police department, those in attendance, those that are working in the community right now, for all their hard work and their dedication to the community. Thank you. Our next story is going to involve the fire department. As most of you are aware, we had a minor incident where an oil tanker in West Bethlehem flipped on Union Boulevard, resulting in an evacuation of over 400 homes in my neighborhood and in many of your neighborhoods. This prompted a coordinated response to several city departments, and I will make sure I don't miss any, because it included the fire department, the hazmat team, the police department, our EMS services, Department of Water and Sewer Resources, emergency management, and our public works department, including the streets and the traffic bureaus, all responded to this major incident. And not only that, they worked closely with outside agencies, including the Lehigh County Hazmat Response Team, the Northampton County 911 Center, the Rapid Response Team, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, PennDOT, our school district, who provided space for evacuating residents in coordination with Nitchton Middle School staff and all of Nitchton's resources, the Red Cross who responded, Wawa that's provided support, Lehigh County Emergency Management, Northampton County Emergency Management, Pennsylvania Fish and Game Commission, and numerous private contractors that also assisted in the cleanup. They activated shelter for evacuation and protected the Monocacy Creek immediately after the incident. Ongoing testing and cleanup will last for months, even last for years, to ensure that we are protecting the Monocacy Creek and all the environmental mitigation that's going to go on moving forward. This is being coordinated through a consultant that was hired by the truck owner, and this is going to be overseen by DEP as we move forward. But thanks to all those agencies, we could all rest assured that appropriate response and containment was going on. While it was incredibly unfortunate, it was a true testament to how wonderfully our departments within the city and locally can come together, respond quickly in situations like this, and work together so that we're making sure that we're keeping our citizens safe and trying to protect our local environmental resources. So I want to thank Chief Aki, I want to thank the entire fire department and all those responding agencies as they work together and they were involved. So thank you. I'll now kick it over to Kristen Wenrick, our Director of our Health Bureau, to talk about the Healthy Bethlehem.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning. Today I would like to highlight the Community Connections program. Community Connections is a collaborative effort between the Bethlehem Health Bureau and the Bethlehem Police Department. The program was born out of a community health needs assessment conducted several years ago, where mental health was identified as a key priority issue impacting our community. The Health Bureau began researching innovative strategies to address mental health in our community and found that some police departments were embedding social workers into their operations. The Health Bureau and the Police Department spent several months developing Community Connections, a program aimed at assisting individuals who have interactions with the police department for issues such as mental health, substance abuse, homelessness, elder care gaps, domestic violence, just to name a few. In the fall of 2020, Community Connections was officially launched and piloted in one of our police platoons. So how does Community Connections work? When a police officer interacts with someone who is experiencing a social service need, they refer that individual to one of our Community Connections workers. In turn, the Community Connections worker attempts to connect with that individual. They complete an intake to assess their needs, connect that individual to appropriate resources, provide case management, and follow up at regular intervals. The pilot program was so successful that Community Connections was expanded to the entire police department in the fall of 2021. To date, Community Connections has received over 650 referrals. The program has evolved from 1 full-time social worker to 2 full-time social workers, 2 part-time mental health specialists, and 2 part-time master's level social work interns. Additionally, Community Connections workers not only receive referrals, but are now co-responding out in the field when necessary. Lastly, the Health Bureau created a working group with various community partners that we typically refer to in an effort to enhance the coordination of care and address system-level gaps. While the program is still fairly new, we are in the process of evaluating the effectiveness of long-term outcomes, and the results thus far have been promising as we seek to reduce the repeat interactions with our police department, improve connectivity to care, and ultimately reduce the prevalence of mental health and substance use disorders impacting Bethlehem. Thank you.
It's hard to narrow down what I'm most looking forward to in Bethlehem in 2023. There are 2 things that stick out to me at this point in the year. I always love when those fall leaves hit the ground and you walk on Historic Side and enjoy the beautiful neighborhoods that we have there. Can't top that, but obviously always looking forward to Music Fest. ArtsQuest always brings the best shows and the best visitors to our town, and we get to show off how awesome Bethlehem is, and I can't wait for that every single year.
Hello, we are here on the north side on Shanersville Road. I'm Jimmy Honachik.
Aladdin.
And we are excited for so much. There's so much great things happening in Bethlehem. On the north side here, you got North Side Alive in May. And then in October, we've got a running festival. And Aladdin and I are both big runners. Aladdin, much bigger of a runner.
Ready for it.
So there's so much to be excited for, and
We're gonna have a challenge, by the way.
Yeah, don't challenge Aladdin, he's gonna win. So much going on, we can't wait. It's a great time to be in Bethlehem. Thank you.
Have a good one.
What are you most excited about Bethlehem in 2023?
Starting sophomore year at Moravian University and eating outside with all my friends.
Thank you. And I want to take an opportunity to thank our city employees. Those stories that Michael and Kristen and Angie told are a credit to our department heads, our city employees that are going out every day and delivering those services. So I want to say thank you again. So every mayor for the past 25 years has stood up here and talked about how the future of our city is tied to that economic investment that we see from the private sector. Economic investment provides jobs for our residents, it puts properties back on the tax rolls, and that's important because those dollars come in to support our city employees, to pay for our infrastructure, and deliver those basic services that we just heard a little bit about and that are at the center of what the city needs to do. And thankfully, due to multiple administrations and city councils making prudent financial decisions, Bethlehem's economic future has never been brighter. And a big part of that is the confidence that the private sector and many of you and your institutions have put in the city of Bethlehem. Tony DeRay from BSI is going to come up in a few minutes to talk about why his company chose Bethlehem to be the home, and I'm going to be back in a little bit to talk about all of the wonderful things we have going on inside of City Hall that is leading to a brighter financial future for the city than we've seen in a long, long time. But first, Alicia Carner, our Deputy Director of Economic Development, is going to come up to talk about all of that investment we have coming into the city. Alicia?
Good morning. I too feel like the Freedom Band. I want to thank the mayor for getting me out of bed 90 minutes earlier than normal. I'm sure a lot of you are feeling the same way. But all kidding aside, I'm here to talk about my job, which is to help ensure that economic growth happens easily and appropriately in the city of Bethlehem. Like many communities, there was a time when any project in Bethlehem was a good project. But today, Bethlehem is in a position to foster development that works for the city's goals, the private sector's goals, and achieve what's in the public's best interest. Throughout my career, I've had the pleasure of working at all levels of government. And what I've learned is that to achieve success, you need a willing business or property owner, and you need a willing community. Without those two factors, there can be no economic growth. And you won't find a more willing community than the city of Bethlehem when it comes to attracting, developing, and supporting the right business or project. Bethlehem has a reputation for putting the right tools in place to develop the right projects. And by projects, I don't just mean bricks and mortar. I'm talking about programs, initiatives, and partnerships. This willingness is the economic foundation our success is built upon. Several years ago, Bethlehem was labeled a legacy community. It said that we were in the midst of recovering. And what this meant was that we were an urban community and we were struggling to reconcile our manufacturing past while moving into a 21st century economy. That was probably true at the time, but like our sister cities, we've seen more than $1.2 billion in investment in the last 4 years. And that investment has occurred in all areas of the city. So what you see is a map of the city, and those green dots represent permits pulled for investments that exceed $50,000. They represent all kinds of investment, from the development of new commercial space, to reinvestment into machinery and equipment, to residential projects, renovations, large-scale home and business additions, and the list goes on and on. So much of the time, the community's focus is on our downtowns, or on our industrial areas. But it's important to show this to you. It tells us that businesses and families are committing to and believing in all areas of our great city. It is true that in economic development, we concentrate our time in a few key areas. This includes working with entrepreneurs, incentivizing innovative technologies, and construction of new space. We're doing this through targeted programs, such as the Enterprise Zone Tax Credit Program, the City Revitalization and Improvement Zone Program, and the LRTA, our Property Tax Abatement Program. Over the past several years, we've worked with businesses to invest $25.2 million in incentives to help construct more than 7 million square feet of commercial space, including more than 1 million square feet of manufacturing space, to attract, to grow, and to develop businesses in our community. Since 2004, the Southside of Bethlehem has been a state-designated Keystone Innovation Zone, where we've assisted more than 100 small businesses who have received more than $10 million in grants and tax credits. These companies currently employ more than 80 people. They have filed almost 300 patents and developed more than 200 new products, and they've leveraged $83 million in loans, grants, and investment. In Bethlehem, we don't just rely on the private sector and institutional partners to invest. In Bethlehem, we tackle projects that will assist our business community, like the redesign of New Street, which is currently under construction, and the replacement of antiquated water and sewer infrastructure, including the projects you heard Angie speak about a few minutes ago. Some of our most visible investments relate to our parking infrastructure. On your way here this morning, you probably noticed the massive crane at the Polk Street garage. It's currently under construction, and every time I drive by, it seems to double in size. Parking is a critical component to the success of our existing stakeholders, such as Northampton Community College, the factory, and the National Museum of Industrial History, and many small businesses, such as Laura Bly, the fashion designer you'll hear from shortly. The garage is expected to help support the parking needs of many of our Southside Arts District businesses and residents, and is the second parking garage constructed on the Southside in the last 6 years. Next year, we expect to continue this type of investment in parking infrastructure with the construction of the Walnut Street Garage. Built over 50 years ago, the existing Walnut Street Garage is in need of replacement, and a new structure and the associated development will open new possibilities for downtown Bethlehem, supporting small businesses, residents, and the city's newly anticipated World Heritage visitor. What we've learned in the many years since Bethlehem was named a community recovering from the loss of its economic foundation is that when private interests and public investment goals overlap, we see an increase in jobs, economic growth, and a community that cares about each other. Now please welcome Tony DeRay from BSI Corporate Benefits to talk about why he's investing in the city.
Okay, real quick. So it never escapes me standing, on this stage at the foot of the blast furnaces. My great-grandfather immigrated from Italy over 100 years ago, settled in the east side of Allentown on Elm Street. Between my great-grandfather and my grandfather were 80 years in the steel industry. So it's always a very humbling experience to be able to stand here and address the business community. I love the Lehigh Valley. My family was born and raised here. An absolute honor to serve the city of Allentown and be part of their revitalization for a decade. I live on College Hill in Easton. If you want to come out and check out my city-ordered sidewalks, they're beautiful. You should come and see them. They're amazing. Sal, they're really nice sidewalks. You should come and see them. Bethlehem has been our corporate home for over the last decade on the north side of downtown. And the choice was easy when we were deciding on our growth and where our next home would be. So a couple of blocks from here, on the south side, the Victory Firehouse, literally the fire company that served these steel stacks for 100 years. We're going to take over in 8 or 9 months, pending some approval from the city on some different things I want to do. A couple of ordinances we're working on. But it makes me extremely proud, and we're almost at 50 employees. But as we get back to work, in the world, and everybody, business leaders struggle with hybrid environments, I look at the Victory Firehouse as our 51st employee. It's going to be a part of our culture. It's going to be a place that our people want to come to, not just there, but also in this community, in the south side of Bethlehem. And I hope that as a community, you'll have us, Mr. Mayor, you'll have us. You've been an absolute inspiration for the reason that I decided to keep the company here. I've heard you speak over the years. I've known you for a decade. We represent ArtsQuest. When I heard you speak at Music Fest at one of our events, you can't fake passion. And the first time that I saw you grab a microphone, born and raised in Bethlehem, because before I only knew you as the person who ran in downtown Bethlehem without a shirt. Oh, it's coming. It was 74 degrees the other day. I sat on Main Street. I'm like, he's coming. I'm sure he's going to be here without a shirt. You speak from your heart. Everything that you do in this city is from your heart. And it resonates, and I appreciate it. And thank you for having us, and we'll be here for a long time. Thanks, everybody.
That was not in the script that you sent me, that you were going to say. But Tony and BSI, if you've ever met Tony, you've ever met BSI, there's a culture there. But as we said before, it's not just about the company, it's not just about Tony or his family, it's about others. I was here, I guess about 48 hours ago, or 36 hours ago, at the United Way celebration of Caring. And they announced that their annual campaign raised a little over $22 million. Which is a new record. 13 years in a row, they've increased that. And on Tuesday nights, they announced that Tony and his wife are the new co-chairs for the next year's campaign, which is great news, I think, for everybody except for Tony and his wife, because they got to find a way to raise over $23 million. But what Tony said during his speech is also something that can't be faked. And he had a room full of people that are committed to philanthropy, but are also mostly private sector leaders. And when he started talking about the economy, I just thought he was going in one direction. And I'm very optimistic for the economy in the next year. I know not everybody is, and I think Tony is as well. But Tony's comments was that no matter what happens in the economy, remember, the people that it affects the most are the people at the bottom of the economic ladder. He didn't need to say that. That's not something that is probably in his job description, but it is who he is. And at that moment, I was ready to vote for Tony for president, I think. Because I looked at that and I said, this is a guy that gets it. If you talk to people from his company, that are part of BSI, they feel the same way. There's an energy, there is a culture there, and we could not be happier that you've chosen Bethlehem to be your full-time home going into the future. And welcome, and you can stay as long as you would like to. So I'm just going to talk a few minutes about the City of Bethlehem's financial state. And one of the things that I often say is that the City of Bethlehem is in a different financial position than just about any other city you are going to find. It becomes hard to compare city, state to state. When you take a look at Pennsylvania, those right up there are the 10 biggest cities by population within Pennsylvania. And many of them are moving in the right direction as far as those bond ratings are concerned. Our AA- stable bond rating, though, has been increased 5 times in the past 9 years because of the commitment the private sector has shown and the public sector, and all of our supporters on City Council, who I also want to recognize and thank you for coming out today. I think 5 of you are at the same table, so it could be a sunshine law violation, so don't talk any business. But the support of elected officials within the City of Bethlehem and multiple administrations understands that you need to make decisions for the long term, not for the short term. And that's what the city has done for decades. And because of that, we are in a better financial position than any other city, as we're going to talk about in the next couple of minutes. If you take a look there at our earned income tax, once again, our comparative earned income tax, that's the 10 biggest cities by population, we are at 1%. And we are at 1% is because that is the maximum allowed by law unless you have certain liabilities connected to your pension and your debt and so on and so forth. So because we do a good job as a city in the private sector and the public sector, we are only allowed to have that earned income tax be 1%, which is something to celebrate. Many cities, they have to, because of the value of their property, they end up bringing in 2 or 3 times the tax revenue of their property tax through their earned income tax. We do not here in the city. So being able to keep that earned income tax low allows companies like BSI and others to want to come into Bethlehem. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean, however, that those numbers are staying flat. If you take a look here at over the past 10 years, in 2013, we were bringing in about $7.5 million in earned income tax. That 1%, though, which hasn't changed by percentage over the years because of the private sector investment, that here in 2022, as you can see there, we're going to bring in close to $11 million. There's only 1 year there where you saw a decline. We all know what year that was, 2020, when we had the pandemic. But other than that, we are on the trajectory by which people want to invest in the City of Bethlehem. People that are choosing to invest in the City of Bethlehem are staying here, and we're bringing in more dollars. Now, why is that important? Because those hardworking city employees, because our hardworking public safety employees, because our hardworking streets workers, they need to be able to count on the fact that they have their pension, that they aren't going to work for 0% year over year, and that they're going to have health care that's going to remain affordable. Those are promises that we make. Like any company, when the City of Bethlehem wants people to come to us, we want them to come work for us because they know they have the confidence that they can build their life and they can build their family around those financial promises. Not every city makes and keeps those financial promises. I, and nobody in the administration, is going to tell our employees that next year they should work for a 0% increase, or the year after, or the year after, or the year after. And right now, last year and the year before, we had passed, with the help of our labor leadership, 3 union contracts that passed overwhelmingly that guarantee those employees increases in the next several years. And that is only possible because we are willing to make the tough decisions in the short term, and we see the investment from the private sector that's allowing us to continue to grow our tax base. If you take a look here, this is a chart that I would remember if I were you, because you don't see this chart too often associated with the government. People talk about debt. They talk about debt in Washington, they talk about debt in Harrisburg, and they talk about debt locally. And the City of Bethlehem, like a lot of cities, in order to keep our promises in 2000, 1997, 2002, 2005, we had to take on debt. We had to take on debt to make sure we could pay those pensions. We had to take on debt to make sure that we could update city facilities. So if you look there in 2015, our general fund debt was about $170 million. Because we were responsible, because we've been paying down that debt, and because we have been paying down more debt than we've been taking on, look at the trajectory that we're in. In 2015 there, you saw we have about $170 million in debt, and we were pulling in about $70 million in revenue. Slowly, through multiple administrations, we have been paying off that debt. This year, I think our debt payment is about $11 million. We are also not taking on any debt. And part of the reason that we don't have to take on any debt, and I always say this, is we need to thank our federal officials. And I know I see Megan from Congresswoman Wild's office here, and I know I see Amy from Senator Casey's office here. He was in a couple months ago because he wanted to show support for the way in which we are spending our American Rescue Fund dollars. But those dollars that we have coming in are allowing us to avoid taking on any debt for the next several years. So look at where we're going to be in 2026. In 2026, our revenues are going to surpass the total amount of general fund debt we have in the city of Bethlehem. I don't believe there's a city around that you can say that for. I don't believe there's a government, a state, a federal government where you can see a chart that looks like that. Because we are willing to make the responsible decisions in the short or for the long term by dealing with a little bit of pain in the short term. Our income there, our revenue has been growing, and in the year 2025, for the first time, those yearly revenues are going to pass the total amount of debt. So between 2015 and 2026, we'll have paid off almost $100 million in debt. Now, I could have made those numbers look even better if I included the ARPA dollars or included the CARES funds in our revenues. Those are essentially recurring revenues. Those are recurring taxes, recurring grants that we get. So those revenues could be even better if we wanted to, but that's not how we got to this point. That's not how we got to the point where the private sector wants to invest and people want to choose to live in Bethlehem. They come here because they know that in the public sector and the private sector, we make the right decisions for the long term because that's the only way that you create that shared success. So, to sum this up, the city of Bethlehem is in a great financial position compared to almost every other city. We are continuing to move forward, and I need to say thank you both to our city employees that continue to do more with less and our private sector for continuing to believe in our city. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to the warm weather coming, being outside, sitting outside at restaurants, and just enjoying everything that Bethlehem has to offer.
Bethlehem is an absolutely beautiful city, and what makes it more exciting is the public art that is there. In 2023, one of the big things to look forward to is we're going to have 2 new murals. One on the north side on the Walnut Street garage. The twin chimney swifts are finally going to be able to come home to roost with a beautiful mural on the garage wall. And the Hobart Street steps on the south side are going to be having a mural done by 2 teachers from the Bethlehem area school district and their students. So 2023, beautiful.
Are you looking forward to Bethlehem in 2023?
Christmas in the city. I think I'm looking forward to the people coming to Music Fest. You know, Music Fest is always like a big monumental thing that we always had here in Main Street. So it's good to always see a crowd come in, especially to come get our wonderful candy for $5. So I'm definitely looking forward to Music Fest so that everyone can have the chance to take one of our $5 boxes today.
My name is Jeff Rush. I am the president and founder of the Lehigh Valley Hot Dog Appreciation Society. So what I'm looking forward to most for summer of 2023 in Bethlehem is having a couple chili cheese dogs from Potts Hot Dog, getting in my canoe and taking a cruise down our beautiful Lehigh River from our beloved Sand Island. I'm West Bethlehem born and raised and proud of it.
Thank you. One of the things we like to say in City Hall is that it isn't success to go to bed at night feeling like you helped somebody. Success is actually helping people. Success are those teachers and students I visited with at Lincoln Elementary School yesterday who were celebrating the growth that they made in math in February. Success are our friends over at Northeast Community Center, Paula and everybody else, that were able to apply for grants to be able to expand their food pantry to serve even more people. It's not about feeling like helping people, it's about helping people. And what you're going to hear in the next couple of minutes is how we are committed to that idea of turning opportunities into outcomes. People often use that word opportunity, and that's great, but that's only the first step. We don't want to feel like we're helping people, we want to help people. We're going to hear about how we are responding to our housing crisis as a city. We are going to talk to our two mayors about how we are working with the three cities together to work on regional solutions to the problems that know no municipal boundaries. We're going to hear about how we're creating a more equitable city and also how we are building a more sustainable community in Bethlehem throughout the Lehigh Valley. And to start off these conversations, I'd like to call on Sarah Satula, our Deputy Director of Community Development, and Bob Rapp, our the Executive Director of the Bethlehem Emergency Shelter, to get us going. Come on up.
Good morning. Working in community development means I get to devote my days to working with city staff, our community partners, and residents to solve our city's most pressing issues. And the issue I hear the most about these days is affordable housing. The coronavirus pandemic put the Lehigh Valley's already accelerating real estate market on a sharp upward trajectory. The secret is out. Bethlehem and the Lehigh Valley are amazing places to live, work, and play. It is something we've all known for many years, but changing norms around work and life priorities mean more people than ever want to live here. That's something to celebrate, but it also brings with it some real pain for our neighbors. The Lehigh Valley, like much of America, is now acutely feeling the after effects of the post-2009 recession building slump. We do not have enough housing for everyone who lives here, and it results in fierce competition at both ends of the income spectrum for the same homes and apartments. Increased housing costs mean more of our neighbors are cost burdened and housing insecure. Just one emergency away from losing their permanent shelter. In Bethlehem, our average home sales price has risen by 52% over the last 3 years. The rent for a one-bedroom apartment jumped by 57% over the same period, according to our housing needs assessment. Our vacancy rate sits around 2%, a crisis level. This graph is showing how the Lehigh Valley's rental market has now become more expensive than Philadelphia. The problem is not confined to Bethlehem, it's being seen across the Lehigh Valley and the nation. Our economic successes, though, make our housing issues all the more challenging. We don't struggle with disinvestment and blight. We don't have swaths of available land, and we don't have endless piles of money to just build more affordable units. When you start in such a strong place, there are no easy solutions. This is where the Reinvestment Fund team comes in. They help communities across America use data and local input to solve these complex issues. We want to make the most progress possible for the most people with our limited available resources. This is why last year, with the help of the Reinvestment Fund, the city launched its comprehensive housing strategy, which is now in its final stage. We brought in these experts to help us find the best affordable housing solutions for our specific real estate market. The study kicked off with a deep dive into mountains of data to update the city's 2017 market value analysis, which was completed as part of our blight study. Next, our consultant team completed a housing needs assessment, identifying the top housing priorities in our community. We've lost our naturally affordable units, resulting in huge demand for apartments that rent for less than $1,100 a month, family units renting for below $1,500 a month, and home ownership opportunities for under $200,000. Community engagement has been a critical component of the housing study. We need to understand the issues facing our residents if we want to help solve them. The community response to our efforts blew us away and drove home just how important safe, affordable housing is to our residents. More than 3,000 people completed the housing needs survey over 6 weeks this fall, and 11 pop-up events across the city drew another 300 residents. We share that passion for affordable housing within City Hall. That's why Mayor Reynolds' budget, enacted by City Council, includes Bethlehem's first $5 million allocation to start implementing these affordable housing solutions. The housing study is in its final stage. We are refining the best affordable housing strategies for our real estate market with the help of our Housing Strategy Committee, composed of many major community partners sitting in this room right now. It is so encouraging to see all of these major institutions coming together to find solutions to these complex issues. We expect to release the city's final comprehensive housing strategy report in early summer. It will serve as a blueprint for the city to develop programs to invest that $5 million into affordable housing solutions. It is so critical we invest in proven housing strategies because we know that every $100 increase in median rents results in a corresponding 9% increase in homelessness. In Bethlehem, the median rent has jumped nearly $400 since the start of the pandemic. Let's just sit with that for a moment. You may already know someone affected by this housing crisis. If you think you don't, I am here to tell you that housing instability is affecting your neighbors and thousands of residents of our city. No one is seeing the human toll of that increase more than our friends at Bethlehem Emergency Sheltering. For those of you who are unfamiliar with BES, let me tell you a little bit about them before I introduce its executive director, Bob Rapp. BES is a faith-based emergency sheltering coalition that we are blessed to have operating in Bethlehem from mid-November until mid-April. This coalition of churches and volunteers began sheltering individuals experiencing homelessness in 2009, rotating amongst churches. In 2017, BES found a home at Christ UCC in our historic downtown. Each night, BES fills 70 emergency shelter beds through an astounding volunteer model. For far too long, they have operated on a shoestring budget and the goodwill of their amazing volunteer network. They take their moral obligation to our unsheltered neighbors so seriously. We could all stand to learn some things from them. BES Executive Director Bob Rapp is here to share more about this amazing mission-driven work.
Thank you, folks. Before I get started this morning, I have to apologize to the mayor. During his first speech, I zoned out. And so I heard these words that kept me from hearing the rest of his speech. It's not always about ourselves. From there on, Mayor Willie, I'll catch up with you a little later. It's not always about ourselves. I come here today to represent the board of directors, employees, and a host of volunteers. Many of you I see here today. You see, BES is blessed, and that was the blessings I was thinking of while the mayor was having his talk with you. We had over 700 volunteers grace our shelter this year. Those are community members that care, not only for themselves, but for others. And that's what it takes here in Bethlehem, just as it does in Allentown and Easton. It takes a community of believers, folks who understand that it's not about themselves, it's about their brothers and sisters, it's about their neighbors. And so we are blessed at the shelter in many ways over the work that you continue to do, not only in your community, but when you come to directly serve those in need. Many of you don't know and don't see our homeless here in the city because they're kind of hidden. We have places where they can be and they can camp. They can be under bridges, they can be down along the river. Some of you see them along the towpath when you're exercising. But many of our homeless are hidden. And so this year, there have been over 250 folks who have come to see us at our shelter. Some folks who are chronically homeless, some folks who've just become homeless. Some will be that way for months, some may be that way for years. Some may get the helps that we offer through the shelter system to get back on their feet again quickly. And so I ask you today to be a part of that movement. Along with the city, we are preparing to find a place for a permanent shelter. It would be year-round where we can address the issues of homelessness when they happen, not wait until the winter. It could be a place where we can make homelessness a short-lived situation. You see, it is about community. And it's about what you leaders here in this room today want others to understand and see in the community that you live in. Thank you for your support. There's some information on the table. Please feel free to give us a call, check out our website, and please come alongside and be a partner to those in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. For far too long, we have allowed BES and its amazing volunteers to fill voids in our emergency sheltering system. But we cannot keep relying on volunteers and nonprofits to carry the bulk of this work alone. Bethlehem cannot build its way out of this problem or open a shelter that will instantly end homelessness in the Lehigh Valley. Only 14% of people enrolled by the Lehigh Valley Regional Homeless Advisory Board in 2022 exited to permanent housing. We know that without affordable housing options, unsheltered individuals cannot get out of crisis and into permanent housing. These complex problems require regional solutions and collaboration across government, nonprofits, major institutions, and our business community. It is time for us all to leverage our resources to tackle these thorny issues, because volunteer passion cannot be the permanent solution. An important first step to achieving this level of needed collaboration is the new 3-City Coalition, which brings together the mayors and staff of Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton together to tackle the major issues facing the Lehigh Valley today. It is my pleasure to introduce Easton Mayor Sal Panto and Allentown Mayor Matt Turk, who are here to talk more about the 3-City Coalition.
Buenos días, mi hermano. Digo hoy feliz cumpleaños a ti. Te quiero mucho. I was looking at the sponsors that were up on the screen there earlier. I didn't know Bethlehem Parking Authority. I didn't know that was a possibility, that you could have that kind of relationship with a parking authority. Thank you, Mayor Reynolds, for inviting us to join with you on this day here in Bethlehem. In Allentown, I face a host of complex challenges every day, not just working with our parking authority, but a number of issues. And I do frequently ask for our community to step up and address these complex challenges together. We're grateful in Allentown that we can count on partners like St. Luke's, like the Lehigh Valley Health Network, like Butts, the Iron Pigs, City Center, Capital Blue Cross. We're so grateful to have so many awesome community partners in our city, but also the support of our residents in addressing those complex challenges. We're also incredibly grateful that we have our partners in Bethlehem and in Easton to help us address those challenges, because many of the challenges that we face in Allentown are not challenges that we face alone. They're challenges that we face across this entire region. The challenges that we discussed a moment ago with housing and with homelessness, they're climate challenges that we all face together. So we are grateful in Allentown that we have the support of this 3-City Coalition. I was very happy to see Mayor Reynolds step up and ask for help from Allentown and from Easton in putting this together. This concept is us coming together in a formalized way to meet regularly and figure out how we can address these challenges together, leveraging not just the resources that we bring from our city halls, but the tremendous group of people that we have here. A lot of the folks that I mentioned that are working in Allentown are here in the room today, but obviously there's a much larger group that we can all bring together to address the challenges that we face. So I'm asking you, those of you in the room who are working in Bethlehem, to expand your scope, to think a little more about how you can support the work that Mayor Reynolds is doing with this 3-City Coalition, with me and with Mayor Panto together, and step up and contribute to this region-wide effort to address things like housing, homelessness, climate, transportation, many more of those complex issues and dilemmas that we all face together. So Mayor Panto, I'll invite you to come up and say a little more.
Thank you, Mayor. It's really great to see everybody here, and I appreciate you all being here. I want to pay special attention to John Brenner, who is our leader at the Pennsylvania Municipal League, and we talk about these issues all the time. I want to thank the two mayors here from Allentown and Bethlehem. I had a great relationship with the former mayors, but I can tell you as the old man up here, these guys are young, aggressive, they have the passion, and they have the desire to see their cities move forward and address the issues that we can't address alone. And I'm really willing to do that with them because I think, as I tell everybody every time I get in this room, it seems, we may be from 62 municipalities, but we're all one community. We have to remember that the community of Lehigh Valley is a community, we traverse the county east and west, north and south all the time. And this is an idea that went back to when, you may remember Mayor Dodona in Allentown, remember Mayor Marcinson and Mayor Smith in Bethlehem. We used to meet quarterly, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to meet with our staffs and let our staffs help us collectively as a valley address these issues that are so prevalent in all three of our communities, but also in the other 59 communities as well. Yeah, 59 communities as well. It's all over the Lehigh Valley. You're going to see homelessness, especially affordable housing, is an issue that's throughout the Lehigh Valley. So we appreciate the opportunity for Willie to let us speak today about this coalition. It's historic in nature that three mayors would come together to address these regional issues, but we can't address it alone. We're asking you to help us do that. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
I'm Mason Allen. I'm the Grants Administrator at the City of Bethlehem, and I'm joined here with City Councilwoman Kira Wilhelm. Over the past few years, we've seen how the community has changed because of the pandemic. It's also highlighted the ways in which we can improve. Through a community engagement effort entitled We Build Bethlehem, we surveyed residents in the city and asked them to help us prioritize 22 areas of need and projects or programs that could help us meet those needs. Between April and October of 2022, the City of Bethlehem connected with residents online and in person, and ultimately reached hundreds of residents from an assortment of demographics. Okay. So we used the results from this survey to establish the goals of this grant program, which is not only to further pandemic recovery in the short term, but also help us rebuild our community in the long term by providing systemic and sustainable solutions to the most pressing problems our community is facing. At the end of last year, Bethlehem City Council approved the creation of the Community Recovery Fund, approving an allocation of $3 million in the city's 2023 budget for this program. It is with the leadership from City Council, along with our team at City Hall, that we're able to establish this grant program and keep it in place over the next several years. The grant application opened on March 1st, and this year, the city will distribute up to $750,000 in grants to nonprofits and community partners that are addressing the community needs in areas that we know require the greatest financial assistance. This grant opportunity fills gaps that are not met by other funding sources, and we designed it to be as equitable and user-friendly as possible for the community. At this point, we have several applications submitted or in progress, and we look forward to distributing the funds in early fall.
Thank you, Mason. As a council person, as a community member, and as a person who works and volunteers with some of our local nonprofits, I value deeply, as this administration does, and as you do, the incredible work being done by those in Bethlehem's nonprofit sector. You are the ones on the ground, working directly with the residents of Bethlehem and doing the good, hard work of supporting this community in so many ways. And I'd like to express my thanks to all of you. All of us on council are proud to have supported not only the creation of the Community Recovery Fund, but also its vision to become a permanent and sustainable opportunity to support Bethlehem's hardworking nonprofits and community organizations. And we can't wait to see the positive impact it will make on your work and on those you serve now and into the future. Thank you.
Next, please welcome Janine Santoro, Director of Equity and Inclusion, and Michelle Sahaki, Director of Human Resources, who will tell you more about the city's first ever equity plan.
Thank you so much to Kira and to Mason. And I just want to go back to two questions the mayor asked earlier that I think are so important. Those questions are, how do we set our priorities and how do we share success? And so as Mason and Kira just talked about, all right. Oh. Okay, teamwork. And as Kira and Hillary just mentioned that while barriers and gaps to services existed long before 2020, the pandemic had a way of revealing those disparities in a way that is undeniable. The City of Bethlehem is seeking to create an equity plan which will help us to provide all people across different backgrounds and lived experiences the best quality of life possible by creating a systemic way of approaching our work in City Hall to address those disparities. The creation of this equity plan is a collaborative internal process in City Hall that includes representatives from each department, so we work together towards the same outcomes. We imagine this to be a multi-layered approach with several phases to assess policies, initiatives, programs, and budget issues in each department. Using a combination of tools like the Sustainable PA Municipal Equity Toolkit and others, we will pursue an awareness and discovery phase, which allows our departments to become less siloed and explore what it means to approach our work in an equity-centered way. An analysis phase, which looks at how different populations and neighborhoods might be benefited or might be burdened by existing programs, practices, and policies. An education and engagement phase, which includes peer learning opportunities, accessible policymaking conversations with the community to help avoid unintended negative consequences. An enactment phase where we build trust and consensus as we implement these new policies and programs, and a standardization or accountability phase where we objectively gauge success and communicate our results with our constituents. To do this work authentically and to give us space to pause, pivot, and adapt when necessary, we imagine the creation and formalization of this plan to take approximately 2 years. And so I welcome now Michelle Sahaki, so that will talk about how we're going to roll this out and what it means for us internally at City Hall.
Employees of the City of Bethlehem work hard each day to provide essential services to our businesses and residents to ensure that our city remains a safe and welcoming place to live, work, and play. This work is performed with dedication and in accordance to city policies and procedures. From a human resources perspective, the city's equity plan provides us an opportunity to take inventory of our current policies and actively work towards something better. Better for our workplace and better for our community. This process will stretch across all city departments and include recognition of what we already do well, lessons we've learned, and how to incorporate those learnings into creating stronger policies. Employees will have access to training, information, and resources to raise awareness and promote equity within our workplace and community. Building a more equitable work environment helps to recruit great talent, improve employee engagement and morale through shared accountability, reduce turnover, and improve city services. The city's equity plan provides an intentional process for continued reflection and improvement. I'm honored to participate in this process and look forward to the plan's implementation.
And now to talk about Bethlehem's path to sustainability, which is part of this plan, please give a warm welcome to Bethlehem Council members Hillary Kwiatek and Dr. Paige Van Wert.
Thank you, Janine. Last year, first of all, I'm Hillary Kwiatek and Dr. Paige Van Wert, my colleague on council, who I'm delighted to present with and delighted to serve with every day. As I've just started my second year on council, her experience has been invaluable. So last year, the city announced the formation of the city's internal working group made up of 9 committees to begin implementing. I'm going to press this button and hope it works. Can you? Thank you. The climate action plan, right. So the internal working group is made up of 9 committees to implement the climate action plan, and several of us on council serve on some of these committees. I personally serve on the local food and waste committee and the city facilities committee, I think is the name of it. And so there's been tremendous progress in the first 14 months, and I just wanted to share some of the highlights. The city is continuing to invest in energy efficiency projects. That includes finding new energy efficiencies in the city buildings themselves. We're continuing to purchase 100% renewable energy for all municipal operations. And we're making progress towards zero waste in our festivals and events, and that's with the tremendous partnership of the large festival and event organizers in the city, including the Chamber and ArtsQuest. We thank you for that. There has been an urban forestry plan drafted. In the internal working groups, they've created an environmental justice steering committee to make sure that as we go forward with this work, all communities are benefiting and experiencing the benefits of the Climate Action Plan. We're coordinating with the Bethlehem Area School District for educational programming, continuing the strong partnership with Bethlehem's Environmental Advisory Council, who are helping with these shared goals. And we have launched a Climate Action Plan page on the We Build Bethlehem platform. So you'll go to the Bethlehem website and you can see that. So that's all the great progress we've made this year, and now Paige is going to talk about the future.
Thank you, Hillary. In addition to all of that great progress, we recently announced the formation of a Lehigh Valley Green Ribbon Commission in partnership with the cities of Allentown and Easton, and we'll be launching the Bethlehem Climate Challenge in the coming months. Our Climate Action Plan and Climate Challenge works because it was created at a local level by this city, by the people who live and work in this city. It reflects our industrial past and that legacy, as well as our evolving post-industrial economy. It came out of a love for our land, where the Monocacy meets the Lehigh, and now reaching along that ribbon of green to Easton and Allentown with the Green Ribbon Commission. We will educate and work together to build equitable climate resilience. This is our children's land. This is our land. To stay up to date and to learn more about our Climate Action Plan, please visit webuild.bethlehem-pa.gov. Thanks.
Oh, I'm so excited about the sister city with Puerto Rico. I can't wait till we decide which city we're going to pick. I hope we get lots of responses. Please try, give it a shot, scan it, go in on the Bethlehem page and give us your vote.
What I'm looking forward to next in Bethlehem is getting back outside. Live in the Garden concerts, Music Fest, Veg Fest, all the exciting things that happen right here on our community streets.
So in Bethlehem in 2023, I'm looking forward to graduating, completing my master's program at Lehigh University, and just continuing my journey.
Hi, so me and my 7-year-old son are here to talk about what we're excited about in Bethlehem for the next year. I'm excited for the restaurants that are around now, and then the new and upcoming restaurants that I can't wait to try. Emmanuel.
Oh, hi. I'm a 7-year-old boy. My name is Emmanuel, and what I'm excited about the Music Fest. I know it's far away, but I'm excited about the Music Fest, and what I like about it, I like eating food there, and I like playing there, and I like hearing the drums.
Hey, this is Matt from Shard's Recording Studio and Tape Swap Radio. I helped book Live in the Garden and Live in the Greenway last year. In addition to the performances, I'm also looking forward to all the positive after effects of having shows like this. A big thing I kept hearing from people was how they couldn't believe they saw this person or that person. It'd been years since they connected with them. So I'm looking forward to that kind of thing, bringing the community together.
As we know, we don't do the work alone here in City Hall. We say it all the time. Bethlehem is what it is because people get up in the morning and they want to do something right by their community. That's a feeling that is as old as Bethlehem itself. We have a long history of partnerships in City Hall and throughout the city of Bethlehem with our nonprofits, with our healthcare institutions, with our colleges, our universities. And what those partnerships do is they build trust. They bring people together. They build momentum. But more than anything else, they work. That's how work gets done. You get people that have the same goals in the same room, moving in the same direction. And we're about to hear about our neighborhood initiatives in both South Bethlehem and North Bethlehem, our quest to build a new community center, and how we are building a community of arts, culture, and small business support. And to start us off, I'd like to welcome up Selena D'Addario, our Northside Alive coordinator, and Bethlehem Area School Board member Karen Beck-Cooley.
Thank you. So, Northside Alive is a community-driven neighborhood revitalization initiative launched in 2018 by the City of Bethlehem and Community Action Development Bethlehem. The planning process kicked off with community meetings where neighbors, business owners, parents, and children identified and evaluated neighborhood strengths. Today, we are using that plan developed with the community as a roadmap for the Northside Alive volunteer committees, the City of Bethlehem, and its partners. At the heart of Northside Alive are 4 dedicated volunteer committees. They work closely with the city to identify and support new programs, projects, and even services that will enhance the quality of life for residents and businesses. One of the biggest projects in 2022 was hiring Alloy 5 to create the first Northside Alive neighborhood brand in partnership with the community, the city, and CADB. The Northside Alive brand is reflective of the community itself. If you take a look at the logo, the colors are inspired by our 2 neighborhood elementary schools, Thomas Jefferson and William Penn. These schools serve as valuable community hubs and neighborhood resources. The logo is an interpretation of the street grid imagined as a mosaic. And upon closer evaluation, you'll notice that star that appears in the negative space, which is a natural symbol for Bethlehem. This brand gives the North Side an identity of its own, a sense of place, and it's being embraced by the community and can already be found throughout the neighborhood. Residents here are eager to build upon the North Side's existing strong sense of community. Northside Alive has sought to strengthen and expand those ties with regular community events. Last year, we conducted surveys, hosted information sessions, business mixers, and public meetings. These events are not only wonderful opportunities for us to connect with different members of our community, hear feedback, and share resources, but it's a chance to celebrate together. Our housing committee, which Karen oversees, is a great example of how we're working from the ground up to drive change within these neighborhoods. This fall, committee members and volunteers conducted a walking housing condition survey of the area. Those results were mapped, and it helps us to pinpoint areas where the city's rehab programs would be most impactful. This data was then used more recently at an event we held, and we used a targeted list of residents to invite to that session where they could learn more about the housing resources. The committees are helping to drive physical improvements as well in these neighborhoods. This spring, you'll see Northside Alive banners along Broad and Linden, bringing attention to our business corridor. To create safer walking routes, crosswalk improvements will soon be installed outside of our elementary schools. Northside Alive branded bike racks were just installed throughout the area to encourage alternative modes of transportation, and thanks to the support of the Coalition for Appropriate Transportation, we picked some pretty good spots for those. Our biggest improvement, however, is still in the works. The revitalization of Friendship Park. This park sits at the core of the Northside neighborhood. Residents got a chance to weigh in on future park amenities at our super popular 2022 Northside Alive block party, which we hosted with the Bethlehem Food Co-op. At this block party, we unveiled the new Northside Alive brand and celebrated the end of summer with hundreds of neighbors and community partners. Block party attendees got a chance to show us their favorite proposed park elements by placing stickers on boards for potential designs. The splash pad feature was so popular, by the end of the night it was covered in stickers. We developed the new Friendship Park plan in concert with the community at several events, and we learned how our community uses the park now, how it can be improved, and what they'd like to see in the new design, which is reflected on the screen behind me. All of that feedback was incorporated into this new reimagined park, and we are moving into the final design and engineering phase and actively applying for funding to help support this project. If everything aligns, we hope to start construction in the spring of 2024. We are energized by all that's already been accomplished in the North Side, but we are just getting started. We look forward to the work ahead and continue to work together as a community to revitalize the North Side. So I'm going to turn it over to Karen just to share a little bit of her end.
Thank you. Karen Beck-Pooley, I'm a director with the school board. And I just wanted to quickly share why I'm so proud of this effort here on the North Side. North Side Alive grew out of what I see as a pretty unique and special collaboration between the city and the school district. It was during conversations back in 2017 about establishing a LERTA district just north of downtown to make tax abatements available to incentivize development in the area that school directors, Superintendent Roy, Mayor Donchez, Mayor Reynolds, at the time in his role as City Council President, Community Economic Development staff, all brainstormed ways to also at the same time incentivize community engagement, quality of life improvements, and neighborhood beautification projects in this area. That led to community planning process and the Northside 2027 plan, and a commitment by the city to invest in Friendship Park, which you're hearing about, and also the plan's implementation more broadly. And that's led to all of these incredible efforts, ongoing efforts on housing, neighborhood walkability and bikeability, resident well-being, and support for local businesses. And I should add that the school district is still a central player in this. Northside Alive's Housing Committee, for example, includes the principals and community school coordinators from both elementary schools in the area, and the committee's work is far better for it. So stay tuned, get involved. There's a lot of exciting things coming on the North Side in the next year. Thanks.
And with that, I will turn it over to Anna Smith from Community Action Development Bethlehem and City Council Member Rachel Leone.
Good morning and welcome to the South Side. Welcome to the home of Lit, Taste Smokers, and Venturettes. All small businesses located right here on the South Side that have partnered with local community members to accomplish some amazing events. Partnerships between trusted private and public organizations continue to be critically important for our South Side community as they allow for the voice of our residents to actually be heard. Community Action, led by the most incredible Anna Smith, is a trusted partner committed to listening to and working with our residents to ensure that we are accomplishing our mission in a meaningful and measurable way.
Thank you, Councilmember Leone, for your leadership in Town Hall and your tireless advocacy on behalf of our Southside neighborhoods, the incredible community that raised both you and I and that we still call home to this day. It's an honor to be here on behalf of the over 100 Southside residents, small business owners, and community stakeholders that comprise Southside Tomorrow, which is a 6-year neighborhood-driven and asset-based community development initiative of Community Action Development Bethlehem in partnership with the City of Bethlehem. Thanks to the support of our contributors on the screen, Southside Tomorrow invests $325,000 a year directly into community-driven developed projects that improve housing affordability and quality, preserve and activate our public and green spaces, and build community by enhancing communication and connectivity here on the South Side. We launched this new initiative last year with a goal of advancing our community's collective vision for Southside's tomorrow, a future that addresses our community's most pressing concerns by building on our strengths. And anytime you ask a Southsider, you're bound to hear that in our neighborhood, our people are really considered our community's most valuable asset. We know that the projects with the greatest potential to strengthen our neighborhoods will come directly from those who know our community best. And so during year one, thanks to the hard work of all the community partners, many who are in attendance this evening, that make Southside's Tomorrow possible, we repaired the facade and weatherized a home at 723 Broadway, which is being fully rehabilitated by Community Action Homes for sale to a low to moderate income homeowner. We maintained 3 local parks. We supported the Southside Ambassadors extension to the 4 Blocks International neighborhood. We held a weekly farmers market all last summer on the South Bethlehem Greenway in partnership with the Kellen Foundation, providing subsidized vouchers to many of our Southside residents thanks to support from the City of Bethlehem. We supported 4 resident-maintained community gardens throughout the South Side. We funded at least 12 community building events engaging over 3,000 individuals in our neighborhoods. We provided community-generated after-school and summer programming for over 500 youth in our neighborhoods. And we supported the provision of fresh foods to 2,000 individuals at the New Bethany Food Pantry and Mollard Hospitality Center. And those are just a few of the many achievements that we were able to realize thanks to these partnerships among so many of our residents, small businesses, and institutional partners throughout the South Side. But beyond the dollars and the hours invested in our community, Southside Tomorrow really is a mechanism for building community and advancing equity, working toward a city in which all our residents have access to economic opportunity and a voice in the decisions that affect their lives. In the coming year, we will be engaging residents of every neighborhood in South Bethlehem to listen to community priorities, cultivate homegrown neighborhood leadership, and bring more voices to our decision-making tables here in Bethlehem. If you live, work, or play on the South Side and haven't been involved yet, we hope you'll join us. The door's always open, and we hope to see you at one of our events or meetings in the coming year. Don't hesitate to reach out. It's now my honor to introduce my good friend, who's also a Southside born and raised, Winston Alozi, accompanied by Ariel Santos and Josiah Rodriguez from the Boys and Girls Club, as well as our Bethlehem Director of Community and Economic Development, Laura Collins.
Good morning. My name is Laura Collins. I am the Director of the Department of Community and Economic Development. I just wanted to tell you this morning about our efforts to create a community center in South Bethlehem. In 2022, we launched the planning process to assess the feasibility and create a roadmap for how we could create a community center in South Bethlehem. We have an opportunity to lead with passion and creativity to meet youth recreational needs. And when we surveyed residents about their pandemic recovery needs, we heard overwhelmingly that resources for youth were among the top priorities. And to me, that is unsurprising because we saw during the pandemic that the kids in our community really suffered perhaps the most, and the ongoing impact of the pandemic has shown itself in schools and in our communities with mental health, wellness, and just an overall sense of safety and security. So when we heard from residents, we heard about youth recreational needs. We heard specifically from over a quarter of the people who took the We Build Bethlehem survey that a community center in South Bethlehem was a priority. But to develop a community center, we need a plan and we need a lot of partners. So earlier this year, we put out a proposal for a feasibility study to assess needs and demands, to make some cost projections, to do site analysis, to make recommendations for how we could create a center that has programming and a long-term financially sustainable model. The response was overwhelming, and we are planning to select a firm and begin the actual work of the study in the coming month. In the planning process, we are prioritizing diversity, equity, and inclusion in everything that we do. We are working with our community partners, school district, residents, institutions, and we're making sure that we're elevating all of the voices, particularly giving equal voice to everybody in South Bethlehem. So to talk more about the partnerships that are necessary to make this ambitious project happen, and also what impact a community center would bring to the people of South Bethlehem, I want to introduce my friend and former Freedom High School classmate, BASD school board member, and director of the Boys and Girls Club, Winston Alozi, as well as students Josiah Rodriguez and Ariel Santos.
All right, 3 cheers for freedom. No, let me stop. Good morning, my name is Winston Alozi. Thank you, Laura, for the introduction. I'm so glad to be here. I want to take a moment and kind of break things up here. I'm going to ask you to use your imagination, or not your imagination, but your memories, all right? And you're going to need to use your hands for this. All right, so I do programs with kids, so I got to make people do things. It's just a part of my nature. All right, raise your hand if you remember being a child. All right, hands down. That's good. That's most of us. Very good. Love it. Raise your hand if you're pretty far removed from being a child. Okay, some of us are being honest, some of us are not, okay. Raise your hand if you are a child of Bethlehem. You came from Bethlehem, you grew up in this area. Awesome, very good. Raise your hand if you grew up in a place that you call home in your heart and you still carry that place with you today. All right, good job participating. Everybody will get stickers at the end. I'm very grateful. But why I asked you to do this, and I want you to think about being a young person. Oftentimes when we have volunteers that come to the Boys and Girls Club of Bethlehem, the first thing I tell them is that be kind, because people remember those adults who were kind to them and those who weren't. As a young person, you remember those experiences that matter. As a young person that grew up literally right up the hill, 422 Pierce Street, I remember walking throughout South Bethlehem. And I remember being here, and I remember being with friends. Going to Bravo with Anna, going to Freedom with Rachel, going to Freedom with Laura. I remember going to Freedom with Jess. Like, we literally graduated here. I'm not going to do that to everybody, but I'm just saying I remember. But it's important to talk about those things. And when I think about those experiences, I think about the over 13,000 kids that live in our community, that go to school in Bethlehem. I think about specifically in South Bethlehem, the over 5,000 students that live, play in this neighborhood. Holden, where are you? Wave your hand. I brought other kids that are here. Holden lives at the edge of Bethlehem and Fountain Hill. All right, that's how far he lives. Dee, raise your hand. Dee lives over in South Terrace. Dee is actually at Freedom High School, and she actually was part of a project at Freedom where they designed what a community center in South Bethlehem would look like. So I'm just saying, if you're thinking about it, think about it. I got you. All right, Xavier, wave your hand. He's just my kid. I brought him because... But the reason why I wanted you to see is the expanse of the neighborhood and those kids that we serve. As the director of the Boys and Girls Club of Bethlehem, we only serve 600 kids in the greater Bethlehem area. And again, I just told you there's over 13,000. And while we're proud that we serve over 600 kids a year, you can see that there's a need. There's a need here in South Bethlehem. And I could talk about all the wonderful programs and activities that we do and how great it is to have kids come to our programs. But you're going to hear from my friend Ariel. Come on over, Ariel. Ariel is going to tell you about him doing programs at the Boys and Girls Club and some of our summer activities, and he's also going to tell you where he lives. Read him, say good morning.
Good morning. So I live in Southside Bethlehem. I live on a big hill, and I'll be walking to Pembroke to go to the Boys and Girls Club and to play, to get active, help.
So let me ask you, from walking from that big hill, and that big hill is Hay Street. He lives at Hayes and 8th, okay? From walking there to walking Pembroke, is that the safest walk you've ever taken in your life? Is that the safest walk you've ever taken in your life? When you do be walking? Nah. You've heard it from the mouth of babes. So when we talk about community support, it is incumbent upon us as the community. I heard when we started our invocation, our mindfulness this morning, we breathe in community. Let's continue to breathe in community. Let's continue to support the city in these efforts, support those collaborative efforts to continue to build, to support young men like Josiah and Ariel who are walking from 18015 to 18017 just to have a safe place to do and be and grow. Thank you for your time.
Pleased to introduce next Aaron Zivertovich, the manager of the Southside Arts District, and Laura Bly, the rock star owner of Laura Bly Designs in South Bethlehem.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Erin Zivertovich, Southside Arts District Downtown Manager.
And I'm Laura Bly, owner of Laura Bly Designs at 3rd and Webster Streets, right here in the Southside Arts District.
The Southside Arts District was formally organized in 2015 as an initiative of the Bethlehem Economic Development Corporation and Lehigh University. It is a volunteered 5013 not-for-profit. We work to revitalize and improve the economic conditions of our businesses and institutions in South Bethlehem. And you may have noticed as you drove here this morning, there is a lot happening demonstrating that success over the last decade.
As a business owner in Southside Bethlehem for 11 years, the transformation of this part of the city has been absolutely extraordinary. We now see blocks of newly developed real estate adding to the original historical buildings already loved and appreciated. Families coming out for dinner frequenting our many fine restaurants, mounted police keeping our streets safe, and the Southside ambassadors keeping our sidewalks tidy. Additionally, a vibrant and diverse community of people can be seen walking on our beloved Greenway while taking in the rich history of Bethlehem steel. That spirit is what keeps Laura Bly Designs squarely centered in Southside Bethlehem. We consistently have events partnering with local businesses like Venture X, who hosts my biannual fashion shows, also working with restaurants like Roasted, Molly's, The Flying V, and Zest. It makes this area such a unique haven of local business owners who truly understand and support one another, sharing in both each other's struggles and successes. While my skills acquired in London, Los Angeles, and Beirut could easily be transferred to Philadelphia or New York City, I chose South Bethlehem as my home and place of business. Yes, I feel so passionately about Southside Bethlehem that I live in the same building as my boutique and continuously patronize the stores and restaurants in my own backyard. Whether it be going to dinner, shopping at the local grocery store, pharmacy, or of course, finding that special occasion outfit, all of these are within blocks of my home. There is an incredible energy and enthusiasm in South Bethlehem. If North Bethlehem is the city's heart, then South Bethlehem is its art and soul.
And the Southside Arts District Art and Soul shines through our urban arts trail with 37 stops of murals and sculptures, as well as our many events that drive hundreds in foot traffic and customers to our diverse businesses. We are very excited for Spring on the South Side, a family-focused health and fitness event on the Greenway with free yoga and fitness classes from the Yoga Loft, biking activities, free art making for adults and kids on Saturday, April 22nd from 1 to 4. We are equally excited to launch our Live on the Greenway Sunday concert series this spring with free live music, food, and drink. That's 4 Sundays at Harmony Pavilion on the Greenway. Please use the QR code to learn more about our upcoming events, and we look forward to seeing all of you on the South Side.
My name is Janine Santoro, and I currently serve the City of Bethlehem as the Director of Equity and Inclusion.
I'm Angie Stein, Director of Mayor's Initiatives for the City of Bethlehem.
And in 2022, we launched and utilized our social media series, The Bethlehem Corner, to tell so many stories about our community.
We utilize that platform to highlight the stories of everyone doing the important work in our city, whether it's inside here at City Hall or our partners in the community.
This year, we visited our vital nonprofit partners, like the Boys and Girls Club, NAMI, the Coalition for Appropriate Transportation, Congregation Brit Shalom, and the Lenape Nation of Pennsylvania.
We gave you all a look behind the scenes at the city services we provide, like snow plowing, repairing water main breaks, and road work, as well as highlighting the dedication of our employees like Bethlehem's Fire Department and our crossing guards, Public Works employees, and water and sewer employees.
We celebrated some great local history stories, like the SRM Lee African American Heritage exhibit at the Kemmerer Museum, the story of Bethlehem Area School District Sonia Vasquez, Dr. Wanalyn Enix's appointment as the first African American on City Council, and Chief Cott as the Bethlehem Police Department's first female police chief.
We also told you about some of our new initiatives that promote more meaningful community engagement and gatherings, like our new online platform We Build Bethlehem, the Friendship Park Block Party, Live in the Garden and on the Greenway, National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and our Greenway Extension, and kicking off some new Christmas initiatives.
Finally, you got to learn about some of the great community events like our Parade of Shamrocks, Hispanic Heritage Month celebration, the Great Southside Sale, and the Northeast Community Center Food Pantry Extension.
2022 is a great year, but we're just getting started.
We hope you join us in 2023 as we seek to tell more stories from your neighborhoods.
Follow us throughout the year on our various platforms as we highlight the people and places that make you proud to call Bethlehem your home. The best is yet to come.
Thank you, and don't worry, we're almost done. We've often said that Bethlehem is a reflection of the American story, a beautiful mix of cultures and identities. We are not defined by any one story, any one culture, any one identity. And just like America, Bethlehem is changing and changing for the better. We are welcoming new people, diversifying as a community, and realizing that there will never be one story that defines who we are. There are many stories, and we want to tell the ones that haven't been told before, and build a city that reflects and celebrates the most American of all ideals, that you have the freedom to be who you want to be, and we are going to celebrate you for it. Angie is back to talk about how we did some of that celebrating 2022 and what's on deck for 2023.
Thank you. As you just saw, in 2022, we launched the Bethlehem Corner to tell more stories, but we also worked to celebrate those stories. We raised the first transgender and pride flags for the first time on Payroll Plaza. We utilized Town Hall for a forum on LGBTQ+ services in Bethlehem and the Lehigh Valley. We initiated calls to action for National Gun Violence Awareness Day. We celebrated 30 years with our German sister city in Schwabisch Gmünd. We continued our annual flag raisings for our Irish, Slovenian, Ukrainian, and Greek communities, as well as held our first Chilean flag raising event. And we continued our menorah lighting with the largest turnout since its inception in response to local incidents of anti-Semitism. In 2023, we look to celebrate even more stories, and here to tell you more about that is our Director of Equity and Inclusion, Janine Santoro, joined by Guillermo Lopez.
So part of creating a culture for all of us includes providing more venues for recognizing the historical contributions of different groups in Bethlehem, envisioning future opportunities that exist when we work together, even if it's over state or country lines. And so it's for this reason that our city's Latino Advisory Council came together to create a process for seeking a sister city relationship in Puerto Rico. It's a way to acknowledge our unwritten history, like the recruitment of Puerto Ricans to Bethlehem Steel in the 1950s from Corozal and Patillas, remembering the service of the 65th Infantry Regiment that served in World War I, World War II, and the Korean War, called the Borinqueñers, and honoring those who have contributed greatly to not just the Latino, Latinx, and Hispanic community, but to Bethlehem as a whole. It is an empowering way to allow our community to have an official governmental relationship to formalize professional development opportunities, intercultural exchanges, and even streamline efforts to respond to man-made or natural disasters like Hurricane Maria. The Latino Advisory Council and Mayor's Office have co-created and released a survey, which you can find on our engagement platform, webuild.bethlehem-pa.gov, or by scanning the QR code that you see on the screen. After we gather the results of the survey, that is open until April 30th, we will have an event at the Hispanic Center on May 31st from 5:30 to 7 to discuss the results, figure out which sister city or cities we should partner with, and upon mutual agreement with those cities, announce and celebrate the partnership with our new commission and representatives of our new sister cities. The sister city relationship will be led by a commission chosen by the community to lead these efforts and will be a wonderful addition to the diverse and existing relationships that already exist with our sister cities in Schwabisch Gmünd, Germany, Corfu, Greece, Foiano di Valfertori, Italy, Murska Sobota, Slovenia, and Tondabayashi, Japan. And now I welcome a really special person to me, my mentor, and also a DEI champion, and also a former Bethlehem steelworker, Guillermo Lopez.
Not that I'm competitive, but I had heard someone say that their family had 80 years of history in Bethlehem Steel. Between my wife and I, we have 300 years of history in Bethlehem Steel. And they're all Puerto Ricans. And in many spaces, I introduced myself, Guillermo Lopez Jr., and I am very Puerto Rican. I just want you to know that, if you don't know that. And this Sister City project is something that, when I think about it in the deepest sense possible, I can't help but feel the emotions and the energy and the love that my parents shared for this city. I think it's something that's been coming, and in fact, they believe they were a sister city already, and so this just seems like the natural thing to do. I have just a few anecdotes to say what it was like growing up Puerto Rican here in Bethlehem.
And so when I started in the steel company, I spoke 3 languages fluently. I spoke English, I spoke Spanish, and I spoke Spanglish. And I still couldn't communicate with many of the people that worked there because they spoke Pennsylvania Dutch. How we got to know each other was we would bring our foods, they would smell my food and they would say, mmm. I would smell their food and I would say, mmm. And that's how we started. And I imagine that that would be a great way to celebrate our 2 communities. As you know, in 2017, Puerto Rico was devastated by Hurricane Maria. And it is in that very similar to Bethlehem space, where Bethlehem has risen from the ashes, Puerto Rico is doing the same. And can you imagine the relationships that could be formed because of these struggles, learning from each other? And let me say to you that Puerto Rico is on the cusp of becoming an economic giant. It would behoove us, as the smart people of this community, to partner and show how we did it and learn how they had it. And then the last pitch I'll make. I look at all these men here wearing ties and jackets, and I understand that's professional clothing, but I'm here to say to you that in Puerto Rico, this is men's professional clothing. Can you imagine from April to September that you would not have to wear a tie? Can you imagine if that's how we lived here in Bethlehem? That that's how we move forward with this kind of ease and comfort. So, this is called the Guayabera. I encourage you to vote for the Guayabera. And I see nothing but goodness coming out of it, and I love my city, and I expect nothing but great things. The last thing I'll say is, I think what I love most about our city is, in this recovery phase, we have acknowledged the harms of the past. And what I see is how we are planning to repair the harms by not using harm in the present. And it shows so much in our discussion of housing. It really speaks to the character of who we are and how we want to see the future. I love my city and I welcome this partnership. Thank you.
And now to talk to us more about the wonderful things happening in this community regarding arts and music, Angie Stein. Thank you.
Okay, this is the last time I'll be up here, I promise. People are drawn to the idea of live and loud music outdoors in the middle of a city. Listening to music with your friends, with strangers, is one of the defining experiences of living in a city. It makes us feel alive. We know what that concept means for 10 days in August. We know what it means on that stage outside. In the mayor's office, we share the thought that the other areas of our city could create those same experiences. We just hadn't done it yet. That idea is what led to some of the best moments of 2022. The Rose Garden stage in West Bethlehem, an underutilized resource for years, hosted our Live in the Garden concert series in partnership with the Chamber over 7 Saturdays in May and June. To say it was successful would be an understatement. We thought people would come, but we couldn't have imagined how many people were there every week ready to have a good time. We're back this year with even more dates, kicking it off on May 6th, expanding its run. As you heard from Aaron earlier, we held Live on the Greenway in October, a multi-stage event that packed the Greenway with hundreds of people as we look to show what can happen when we activate the Greenway's potential. It was a hugely successful day, and we're back this year with a month-long concert series that will run for 4 Sundays in a row. A key to both events' success was partnering with community members like Matt Mulchaney with Shards Recording Studio to make this happen. We know how many awesome bands there are in our community, playing in bars, playing with friends, playing in garages, and we wanted to give them a stage. 2023 will bring many more opportunities to highlight our community-based music scene as we continue to make it more sustainable, equitable, and accessible. As we near the end of this program, we'd like to thank the Chamber, Tammy, Brittany, and the entire team for all of your work on this event. Thank you for all that you do. Now, speaking of people not afraid to break out their guitar, I'd like to welcome back Mayor Reynolds to close us out.
Thank you, Angie. When I was 10 years old, I often talk about how I went to Thomas Jefferson Elementary School. And I remember it was the spring of 1992, and I was a safety patrol for Thomas Jefferson. And there was their afternoon, I think it was a Friday afternoon, where we were having some type of end-of-day party. Now, if you've ever been in elementary school, you know the parties don't go on for a terribly long time. So I think it was going on for about a half an hour. And of course, I had forgotten to tell my dad or my mom that we were having this party. So on the way to school, there were 5 of us in the family. I told my dad, I said, we need to stop to get something, because it's our responsibility to bring something to this party. He wasn't thrilled. I think I waited until Friday morning to tell him that. But he stopped and he did something that they did in 1992. I don't know if they do that in 2023, but he gave me a 6-pack of soda to take into this party in the afternoon. Now, when I got to school, I of course felt like I hit the jackpot, because I could give a soda out to this friend, I could give a soda out to this friend, I gave one to this girl I liked, I was just trading sodas for candy, it was great. But I only gave out 4 to 6 sodas, and for some reason I felt like I needed to keep 2 for myself. And one of my friends came up to me and he asked me that day, he said, hey, do you still have any soda? And I lied to him, and I said, I don't. I said, they're all spoken for. I've given all of them out. Now, why I needed, as a 10-year-old, to have 2 sodas for a half-an-hour party is beyond me. I was never going to drink those 2 sodas. But inside of me, there was something that said that I needed more, that I wanted more, that I needed something more than what I actually needed. Now, me, even being in politics back then, I helped to scheme with this kid about how he could find a soda for by the time 3 o'clock rolled around. And there were safety patrols, and back then they had like AM kindergarten and PM kindergarten. So we talked about how when we went out at noon, he was going to go into the laundromat that's still at the corner there of Linden and North Street, put money into the machine, and get a soda for himself. We schemed, we talked about how we made sure the teacher wasn't going to find out about it, and so on and so forth. He didn't end up doing it because he didn't want to get in trouble. And he came back in and we had the party. And when we had the party, he looked at me at some point and he realized that I had lied to him. And I saw it in his eyes. And he didn't need to say anything because I understood the hurt that he felt. I understand I was supposed to be his friend, and somehow I lied to him because I wanted more than I needed. And I told myself I was never going to feel that way again. I went home and I was embarrassed and I was ashamed and I felt about 2 inches big. Now, the lesson I learned is the same lesson that people always have the opportunity to learn. Is once you have what you need, you don't need more. Once you have what you need, your mission is to help others get what they need. And what you heard today were dozens of people that came across this stage that understand that lesson. Those are the leaders of your community. They understand that once you have a job, once you have health insurance, once you have a house, once you have a place to live, it's not about you. It's not just about your family, it's about others. And that's the way we define our city. Now, this is not a fairy tale, and I understand that not everybody is wired that way. And please, don't confuse my optimism for naivete. Many people think the goal is to get as much as they can. And the way some people feel about that, more money, more market share, whatever, that single-mindedness, that aggressiveness, that's the way that these individuals here and the people in our community, it's the way they feel about helping people. I guess you could say it's our code. And as Omar Little once famously said, everyone's got to have a code. Ours is simple. Help people get what they need and hold those accountable who try for too much. We are a city that understands that basic lesson that American history has taught us. The lesson that true success only occurs when everybody wins. Think about where we're standing. It was okay that the people at the top of Bethlehem Steel were making a lot of money, because that was building generations of families, people that were first-generation immigrants, that were building lives around that. They were building houses. Their kids were going to go to college, and their kids were going to get a job. It's okay that the Bethlehem Area School District celebrates that every year we have kids going to Harvard and Yale and Princeton, because they are just as proud about those kids that when they're 18, they graduate from Vo-Tech, go and get a job. It's okay that Moravian University talks about the 5th generation of a family to go to Moravian, because you know what they do? They honor those 1st generation college graduates. That's a lesson that is central to who we are as a city. And I learned it that day at Thomas Jefferson, I learned it at Northeast and Liberty, I learned it in Monocacy and Memorial, and of course I learned it in Comenius in that 1st floor office where my dad had his office for so many years. And I learned it at Allen High School, where the kids showed up and they were willing to work, do any assignment, you just gave them a pencil. We all have an opportunity to learn that lesson. And the inspiring stories you heard today are from people who understand that. And I'll finish with this. By any metric, we have been successful as a city. We have been wildly successful. And on this stage and on other stages for years and years and years, you're going to continue to hear stories about the success that we are having as a city. But we aren't talking about the problems we were talking about 20 years ago. We're not talking about how we're going to rebuild Bethlehem Steel or how we're going to stop people from leaving the city. We're not going to talk about how we're driving investment to Bethlehem. We're not talking about how we're going to pay off the debt. So if we're not asking the same questions, if we're not telling those same stories, we need to view success differently. And if you share our belief that success must be shared, that for something to be successful, it means that everybody needs to win, I hope you are leaving here inspired by who we are as a city and what we're going to become. Because those individuals that you saw come across this stage, they are not just working on those initiatives now. They are permanently, and I do mean that, permanently changing the way we define success in the city and what it's going to look like. As I said before, it's not a story one person could tell. You needed the full band, we needed to plug in to be able to tell that story. So I hope as you leave here, you remember those words, from the governor to our community leaders to everybody else that has been here on this stage. This is who we are. Welcome to Bethlehem. Thank you.